All right, everybody, I'm back. John Elite Show. Hit the subscribe button, follow me, and I want to go back into. We're going to reverse and go back to the Epstein. I did an Epstein one. This will be part two, and the reason why I'm doing it is because of the P Diddy case and what's going on. And I laid out some things about the P Diddy case, and then last week I brought in some cases with Weinstein, P Diddy, the Epstein case and some of these major sexual cases over the last decade. And when I did the Epstein case, I walked everybody through why I don't believe he killed himself. And I have to question at this point because people question me, you sure that you think he was killed? Well, there's only two things that could have happened. He was killed or he was moved and he was put somewhere and he's not dead. And that's, people say, well, that's a conspiracy theory. Actually, it is, but it isn't. Because after what we witnessed the government doing in the last decade or so, and prior to that also with the President Kennedy's murder, and with the new technology that we know that it wasn't a lone shooter. So these aren't conspiracy theories. These are facts that through history, because of the change of techniques and the future that brings some of these investigating skills that they never thought would come to fruition back in those days have come to fruition now. And now you look at people are questioning me about, what do you think about P. Diddy? Do you think he'll stay alive? And, when people also ask me why I'm so open that maybe he's not guilty. And I have to say, although these are bad crimes that he's being accused of, there's so much behind it when you talk into the billions of dollars that some of these people are involved in with him. And there's so many people being protected, like in the Epstein case. And I'm going to go back to Epstein and some of the things that happened. And so far, there was close to $200 million of settlement still with Epstein. And there's a lot of other cases that are still moving forward with that. At the same time, you have a lot of people bowing out of the P. Diddy cases where they're trying to get lawsuits settled before their names surface and before they're charged criminally. So when people asking me why, I'm going to show you why, and I'm going to tell you who's involved with Epstein, for example. For the most part, the documents have just come out of individuals outside of Epstein since 2016. The deposition from Johannes Sloberg, one of Epstein's victims, mentions politicians, figureheads in the United States and abroad worth billions of dollars. So when you're talking about people in power for this kind of money, and I'm going to tell you who these people in power are, and some of the people are involved so you understand the magnitude of why when Epstein was arrested and the search warrants were first put in place and the arrest warrants, there was nobody challenging any of his other properties outside of the states here in New York and Florida. And the reason being, from the information I'm getting, is because they wanted to clear out the island locations that he owned, where there a lot of these sexual assaults and rapes and drugging of young kids and pedophile and all the accusations against him, so they can get the tapes, paperwork, and anything else that the FBI can get their hands on and clean it up and keep serious people of serious positions, where they were accused politicians, judges, ex-presidents, and other powerhouses that I just brought up in my last show. And some of those names of associates of Epstein are this: CI Director William Burns. So understand what I just said. The CI Director, Edward Burns. So William Burns, excuse me. When you have people in those kind of positions, and no one's accusing him, I'm not accusing him, but that's an associate of him. He was involved with him. Is there photos with them? Is there audio? Is there videotapes? Is there anything that can implement them in any of this that's going on? That's the question. When you have a logistics professor, Noam Chomsky, Bard College president, Leon Boston, and Catherine Ruma, a former White House counselor and lawyer for Goldman Sachs. these people are extreme people of positions. So is there involvement? Is there a cover up in their involvement? Because we still haven't got the names. After the judge has ordered over 200 names to be released, there's a black book that Epstein owned, and the people are bidding on that black book on an auction market. And they said that black book was going to go for a couple $100 million. Now, is that black book going to go for a couple $100 million? Who knows? Those names in that black book, they're scared that they're going to come out. And if those names do come out, what will surface? Now, you have a woman here, Sarah Kellen. She's a woman that was accused also of being in a position like Maxwell. No one really heard of her. And she lives in Miami right now, a quiet life, hidden away with her husband. Now, this is a woman that was also setting up massages, sexual acts for Epstein. Now, she was also, now the police say she's guilty of helping him to facilitate young girls for sexual favors, acts, and being assaulted. She claims that she was a victim of Epstein's, and that's still to be seen. That's an ongoing. There's ongoing civil cases. There's ongoing. So her name just started surfacing again, and a judge had described Kellen as criminally responsible participant, Epstein's scheme. But Kellen was never charged and has remained out of the public eye. So we're waiting to see what's going to happen as far as she's concerned. How much information does she have? Will she be pressed any further when other indictments may come down or not come down, civil suits come down? And she has information and supposedly told somebody that she doesn't believe that Epstein's dead. Now, is that accurate or is that not? You don't know because you're dealing with CI directors. You're dealing with some very, very powerful people. And so in my belief, 100%, and I went through that in my first part one, is he was definitely wasn't murdered. There's nobody ever going to convince me that because of how I explained it during the counts in prison. And I was in that prison. I've been in other prisons where I know how the count works and the security of the prison. Now you have names of acquaintances and associates of wealthy financier Epstein. You have British royalty, and they were released during these documents. There were parts of lawsuits with Giselle Maxwell in 2015. In those documents, more than 200 are expected to be unsealed names. They were part of defamation lawsuit filed by another victim, Virginia Roberts Guthrie. Maxwell called her a liar. Maxwell said she's making up stories and alleged different abuse on her. But that case was eventually settled in 2017. And she was awarded millions of dollars by Epstein's, supposedly Epstein exploiting her for sexual favors involuntarily. I shouldn't use the word favors. So now you go back to, is Epstein alive? Is P. Diddy safe? And is P. Diddy, because of the information he has, and supposedly certain names were mentioned in P. Diddy, one of them Kamala Harris. Was she really there? Is it just a name that's floating around? Judge Joe Brown alluded to the fact that she was at those parties. There's information that she was friendly with Epstein. There was pictures floating around. Kamala Harris was in pictures with Epstein, but they weren't authentic pictures. They just placed her face in those pictures. But when you're talking about people with this kind of power, we're not sure what's really accurate and what isn't. And I'm going to dig into it on part 3. This was just part 2 to formulate for you people to understand who's involved, the strength of these people, the financial power of these people, and the cover-ups by certain judges because they're friendly with other judges or maybe they were on these islands. And what information and tapes, what paperwork, what pictures, what photos, what telephones, what electronics, equipment did the government scoop up from all the properties of Epstein? No one's have seen any of this yet. And this is going on years, yet you're going into other cases like P. Diddy's. What makes us believe if you could cover up something like this with P. Diddy, with Epstein, that P. Diddy will get a fair trial and a fair shake of what's going on? We really don't know what's going on. So when people say, well, it's conspiracy theory, do you think that he's been set up? Not at all when you're talking about the level of people that are involved, how wealthy they are. I brought up some guys last week from Global International and money that was funneled to Epstein. I believe it was 187 million, 30 million on a personal level, and to his charities, $10 million. So you're talking about incredible. You're talking about $250 million in money that's been funneled to Epstein, and favors and bribery and blackmail that he had to the people that were involved in his cases. And the people, and he had a strong hold on people, not in just in this country, in other countries, in the UK. We're going to go on and see, and I'm going to talk to some investigators that were involved in this case. And in part 3, we're going to discuss: is Epstein dead, or was he moved somewhere else? Is P. Diddy safe in prison? Will be another John F. Kennedy case, an assassination that we don't know who did it? Would it be another assassination or accusation of suicide like Epstein? Let's keep digging into this and find out where we're going with Epstein and P. Diddy and the people that are involved. And as we wait for the names to surface, because more and more names will be surfaced. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Hit the subscribe button. Wait for part 3, and we'll dig deep into it. Thank you.